The starship Eternal Horizon dropped out of hyperspace with a soft hum. The crew felt the familiar shake as the ship slowed down from impossible speeds. On the main screen, a blue and green planet appeared. It was beautiful in a way that made the Valkyrie crew uncomfortable. Dr. Tallow stood at his station with all four of his blue eyes fixed on the data streaming across his screen. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin that shifted to darker shades when he was worried. Right now, his skin was almost purple. "This cannot be correct," he said to himself. He ran the scan again. The numbers came back the same. Captain Ven walked over from her command chair. She was older than most of her crew, with scars on her face from battles fought long ago. She had seen many strange things in her years of service to the Galactic Survey, but she had never seen her science officer look so disturbed. "What is it, Doctor?" she asked. Dr. Tallow turned to face her. His four eyes blinked in a pattern that meant confusion and fear. "Captain, I need you to look at this planet's classification." Ven looked at the screen. The words made her step back. "Category Omega, unsurvivable." "We knew this before we came," Ven said carefully. The planet was marked as a death world. "We are here to confirm the classification and leave." "Standard procedure." "Yes, Captain. But look at the surface scans." Ven looked. Her expression changed from calm to shock. There were structures on the surface, cities, roads, ships in the water. And the life signs, millions of them. Billions, perhaps. "That is impossible," Ven said. "I have checked 7 times, Dr. Tallow replied. "The readings are accurate. There are living beings on that planet. Not just surviving, living, building, multiplying." Captain Ven sat down in her chair. She was quiet for a long moment. The bridge crew watched her, waiting. "Show me the environmental data," she finally said. "All of it." Dr. Tallow put the information on the main screen. As he read each line, his voice grew more worried. "Surface gravity is 1.3 standard. This would crush the bones of most known species over time. The atmosphere is 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. This mixture is toxic to 60% of galactic life forms. The temperature ranges from -89 degrees to +57 degrees, depending on location and season. This variation alone would kill most species." He continued. "The planet experiences constant seismic activity. Volcanic eruptions are common. The magnetic field is unstable. Radiation from the local star reaches the surface at dangerous levels." "Doctor," Captain Ven interrupted. "What about the water?" Dr. Tallow's skin turned even darker. "The planet's surface is 71% covered in liquid dihydrogen monoxide. The humans call it water. It is chemically aggressive. It dissolves most materials over time. Large portions of it contain high levels of salt, making it even more corrosive. And it is filled with predatory life forms. And yet," Ven said slowly, "someone lives there. Not just lives, Captain. The population appears to be in the billions. They have built permanent settlements across every major landmass. They have technology. They have civilization." The bridge was silent. Every crew member was thinking the same thing. How? How could any species survive on a world that seemed designed to kill them? A voice came from the back of the bridge. It was soft and calm, with an accent that the universal translator handled easily. "It's an Earth-type planet." Everyone turned. Unipark stood near the door. She was the ship's xenobiologist, the only human on the crew. She was small compared to the Valkyrie, with black hair tied back and dark eyes that were studying the planet on the screen. Dr. Tallow stared at her. "You know this world?" "Not this one specifically," Una said. She walked closer to the screen. There was something different in her expression. Something the crew had never seen before. It took Captain Ven a moment to recognize it. It was longing. But I know worlds like it, Una continued. I was born on one, Earth, my home planet. Dr. Talow's 4 eyes went wide. You came from a Category Omega world? You evolved on a death planet? Una smiled. It was a strange smile, sad and happy at the same time. We don't call it that. We just call it home. Captain Ven stood up. Dr. Park, this planet's environment should be lethal. My science officer says nothing should survive there until dawn. How is this possible? Una looked at the captain. She thought about how to explain something she had never needed to explain before. Her whole life, she had lived among humans. Everyone understood. But here, among the Volturi, she was the strange one. She was the one who came from the impossible world. Captain, Una said finally, humans are different. The things that would kill you, we adapted to them. The things that would break you, they made us stronger. We didn't survive our world despite its dangers. We survived because we learned to face them. She looked back at the screen. The blue and green planets spun slowly in the darkness of space. Permission to join the landing party, she said. I would like to meet the people who live there. Captain Ven was quiet for a long moment. She looked at Dr. Tallow, who shook his head in warning. She looked at her crew, who seemed frightened. Then she looked at Una Park, the small human who was asking to visit a world that should have killed her entire species. Permission granted, Ven said. But we go together. I want to see this for myself. The order went out. The landing party would depart in 1 hour. In her quarters, Una packed her bag. She put in her scanner, her sample containers, her notebook. Then she stopped. She looked out her small window at the planet growing larger as they approached. She had not been on an Earth-type world in 3 years. 3 years of sterile stations and artificial air and gravity that was always too light. 3 years of being the strange one, the human, the creature from the death world. For the first time in 3 years, Una Park felt something she had almost forgotten. She felt like she was going home. The landing shuttle touched down on a flat area near the water. Dr. Tallow watched his instruments the entire way down. Every reading made him more nervous. The atmosphere was pressing against the shuttle like a giant hand. The gravity pulled at them harder than anything he had felt before. Full environmental suits, Captain Ven ordered. Life support at maximum. No one removes their helmet for any reason. The Valkyrie crew put on their protective gear. The suits were bulky and covered every inch of their bodies. Air recyclers hummed on their backs. The visors displayed constant warnings about the hostile environment outside. Una put on a light jacket. Dr. Tallow stared at her. Dr. Park, your protective equipment? I don't need it, Una said simply. This atmosphere is fine for me. Fine? The readings show toxic levels of oxygen and nitrogen. I know. That's what I breathe. Dr. Tallow's skin went dark purple. He looked at Captain Ven for support, but the captain just shook her head. There was no point arguing with the human about her own biology. The shuttle door opened. Hot, wet air rushed in. The Valkyrie suits immediately started working harder to keep their occupants safe. Una stepped outside and took a deep breath. She smiled. The landing zone was on a beach near a small fishing village. The water stretched out to the horizon, blue and endless. Small waves rolled onto the sand with a gentle sound. In the distance, they could see buildings and boats and people moving around. Radiation levels are elevated, Dr. Tallow reported. The local star is bombarding us with harmful rays. It's called sunlight, Una said. Humans enjoy it. Enjoy? It damages cellular structure. Yes, we use something called sunscreen. Or we just accept the damage. Our bodies repair themselves. Dr. Tallow made a sound that his translator could not convert. It was something between a gasp and a cry of disbelief. A figure was walking toward them from the village. As it got closer, the Veltheric crew could see it was a human. An old male with gray hair and brown skin that was wrinkled from years of sun exposure. He walked slowly but steadily, his bare feet pressing into the hot sand without apparent pain. "Hello," the old man called out. He waved his hand in a friendly gesture. "Welcome to our village. I am Diane Kim. Are you the visitors from the stars?" Captain Ven stepped forward. Her suit made her movements stiff and awkward. "I am Captain Ven of the Galactic survey vessel Eternal Horizon. We have come to study your world." Diane smiled. His face had many lines, but his eyes were warm and bright. "Study? There is not much to study here. Just fishing and farming and living. But you are welcome to look around." A small figure appeared from behind Doyun. It was a child, a girl of about 8 years. She had long black hair and was wearing simple clothes and no shoes at all. She ran across the sand toward the visitors, her feet kicking up small clouds behind her. "Grandfather, are these the aliens?" she called out. "Yes, Sujin. Be polite." Dr. Tallow watched the child approach with horror. His instruments were telling him everything about the ground she was running on. The sand was rough and full of sharp particles. The temperature was enough to cause burns. There were microscopic organisms everywhere, potential parasites and pathogens beyond counting. And the child was running barefoot through all of it, laughing. "Hello," Sujin said. She stopped in front of Dr. Tallow and looked up at his helmet. "Why are you wearing that big suit? Are you cold?" Dr. Tallow did not know how to respond. Cold? The temperature was 31 degrees. He was overheating inside his suit. His cooling systems were working at full power. "We are protecting ourselves," he managed to say. "From the environment." Sujin looked confused. "From what?" "From everything. The air, the radiation, the temperature, the gravity, the biological contaminants." The little girl laughed. It was a bright, happy sound. "That's just outside. It won't hurt you." Dr. Tallow looked at Captain Ven. He did not have words for what he was feeling. Yuna knelt down to be at eye level with Sujin. "Hi there. I'm Yuna. Can you show us around your village?" "Yes. Come on. I'll show you the boats first. My grandfather catches fish. Big ones." Sujin grabbed Yuna's hand and started pulling her toward the village. Yuna followed easily, her steps light and natural on the difficult terrain. The Veltheri crew stumbled after them, their suits making every step a struggle. Doyun walked beside Captain Ven. "Your crew seems uncomfortable," he observed. "Your world is classified as unsurvivable," Ven said. "My science officer calculated that unprotected exposure would result in death within one planetary rotation." Dohyun thought about this. Death by morning? That seems extreme. The weather is quite nice today. Nice? Captain Ven looked around. The burning star overhead. The aggressive water nearby. The heavy gravity pulling at every step. The air thick with unknown dangers. "This is nice?" "Well, it is not raining," Diane said. "And there is no storm coming. The wind is gentle. Yes, I would say this is a nice day." Captain Ven did not respond. She was beginning to understand that her definitions and the human definitions of words like nice and dangerous and normal were very different. They reached the village. It was small and simple, with buildings made of wood and stone. People were everywhere, going about their daily lives. Some were mending fishing nets. Others were preparing food. Children ran and played in the streets. Old people sat in the shade and talked. None of them were wearing protective equipment. None of them seemed afraid. "How are you alive?" Dr. Tallow suddenly asked. His voice was louder than he intended. How is any of this possible? Everyone in the village stopped and looked at him. There was a moment of silence. Then Do-hyun smiled. It was the patient smile of someone explaining something very simple. We live here, he said. This is our home. This is how we have always lived. Dr. Tallow opened his mouth to argue, to explain about radiation and gravity and toxic atmospheres and predatory organisms, to show them his data and his calculations and his predictions, but the words did not come. He watched Sujin chase a small flying creature through the air. He watched an old woman hang wet clothes on a line to dry in the burning sunlight. He watched young men carry heavy loads without strain in the crushing gravity. He watched humans live on a world that should have killed him. And for the first time in his long career as a scientist, Dr. Tallow did not know what to believe. The survey team spent 5 days in the village. Each day brought new horrors for Dr. Tallow and new wonders for the rest of the crew. On the first morning, they watched the humans eat breakfast. Captain Ven had to look away. They are consuming other life forms, Dr. Tallow whispered. His voice was shaking. Directly. Without processing. It was true. The villagers were eating fish that had been swimming in the ocean just hours before. They were eating vegetables pulled from the ground, where countless organisms lived and died in the soil. They were eating eggs that had come from birds. They were drinking the milk of large animals that the humans kept nearby. Grandmother Yoonji, Do-hyun's wife, noticed the aliens watching. She was a small woman with silver hair and a kind face. She carried a tray of food over to them. You must be hungry after your long journey, she said. Please, eat something. The tray held rice, grilled fish, vegetables, and several small dishes of colorful foods that Dr. Tallow's scanner could not identify. His instruments detected proteins, carbohydrates, vitamins, and also bacteria. Lots of bacteria. We cannot eat this, Dr. Tallow said. It is contaminated with microorganisms. Yoonji looked puzzled. That is how food works. The bacteria help us digest it. They live in our stomachs. Live in your? Dr. Tallow could not finish the sentence. Yuna sat down and picked up a pair of thin sticks. She used them to lift a piece of fish to her mouth. She chewed and swallowed with obvious enjoyment. This is delicious, she said to Yoonji. Thank you. It has been too long since I had real food. Yoonji beamed. A young woman needs good food to stay strong. You are too thin. Eat more. The Valkyrie crew watched in stunned silence as Yuna ate food that would have killed them in minutes. On the second day, a young man named Minho took them to see the ocean. Minho worked at a research station nearby. He studied the creatures that lived in the water. He was tall and friendly, with an easy smile and quick laugh. The ocean is my favorite place, Minho said as they walked along the beach. I have loved it since I was a child. Dr. Tallow was scanning the water. His readings made him step backward. There are predators in there. Large ones, with teeth and venom and... Yes, Minho agreed. Sharks, jellyfish, sea snakes, stonefish, cone snails. Many things that can hurt you. That is why we are careful. But you still go in the water? Of course. That is where the fish are. Minho laughed at the expression on Dr. Tallow's face. Do you not have oceans on your world? We have liquid bodies, but we do not enter them. They are too dangerous. Minho looked sad at this. That is unfortunate. There is nothing like swimming in the sea, feeling the waves carry you, watching the light filter down through the water. It is like flying, but better. He looked out at the ocean. The sun was starting to set, painting the water in shades of gold and red and purple. The waves rolled in with a rhythm that was almost like music. It is beautiful, is it not? Minho said softly. Dr. Tallow looked at his scanner. He looked at the deadly water full of deadly creatures. He looked at the deadly radiation from the dying light of the deadly star. Then he looked at Minho's face. There was peace there, joy, love. He did not understand. On the third day, they discovered that the humans kept predators as companions. Sujin led them to a house where a family lived with two large creatures. The creatures had 4 legs, sharp teeth, and were covered in fur. They ran toward the visitors with loud barking sounds. The Valkyrie crew reached for their weapons. "Do not be afraid." Sujin laughed. "They are friendly. They are dogs." The creatures jumped around Yuna, their tails wagging with excitement. She knelt down and let them lick her face. Their tongues were wet and pink and covered in bacteria. "Why do you keep predators in your home?" Captain Ven asked. She had not lowered her hand from her weapon. The family who lived there looked confused. The father, a man named Junsu, picked up one of the dogs and held it like a child. "They are not predators," he said. "They are friends. They protect us. They keep us company. They love us. They have teeth designed for killing." "Yes, but they use those teeth to eat food, not people." "Well, not usually." Junsu laughed at his own joke. The dog licked his face. On the 4th day, Dr. Tallow discovered something that nearly broke his mind. "The humans live near geological fault lines," he reported to Captain Ven. "Intentionally. They build cities on the edges of volcanoes. They settle in areas that experience regular seismic activity." "Why would any species do that?" Ven asked. "The soil is fertile there. Good for growing food." Captain Ven sat down. She needed a moment to process this. They accept the risk of being destroyed by geological events in exchange for better food? Apparently, yes. The humans have a word for it. They call it living. On the 5th day, Yuna sat with Minho on a cliff overlooking the ocean. The sun was setting again. It was even more beautiful than before. "You seem happy here," Minho said to her. Yuna nodded. She was watching the waves below. The wind was blowing through her hair. For the first time in 3 years, she felt like herself. "I forgot what it was like," she admitted. Real air, real gravity, real food, real danger. "You missed the danger?" Yuna thought about it. "I missed everything. The safe places I've been living. They're comfortable, but they're not alive. Not like this. There's no wind, no rain, no storms, no risk, nothing to overcome, nothing to survive." She looked at Minho. "Your world is classified as a death world. Did you know that? I've heard this from your crew many times." He smiled. "But I do not understand it. Every moment of my life has been on this world. Every joy, every challenge, every love. How can that be death?" Yuna did not have an answer. She just looked at the sunset and felt the wind and listened to the deadly ocean sing its endless song. That night, Grandmother Yunji made dinner for everyone. Even Dr. Tallow tried a small piece of vegetable. It did not kill him. In fact, it was quite tasty. He did not tell anyone, but he took a second piece. On the 6th night, the sky changed. Yuna noticed it first. She was walking back to the landing shuttle when she felt the air pressure drop. The wind shifted direction. The clouds on the horizon were darker than they should be. "Something is coming," she said to Captain Ven. Dr. Tallow checked his instruments. His 4 eyes went wide with terror. "Captain, there is a massive atmospheric disturbance approaching. Wind speeds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour. Precipitation levels that could drown air-breathing species. Electrical discharge strong enough to destroy our shuttle." Captain Ven looked at the sky. It was growing darker by the minute. "How long until it arrives?" 3 hours. Perhaps less. Then we evacuate. Now, everyone back to the shuttle." But before they could move, Do-hyun appeared. He was not running. He was not panicking. He was simply walking with purpose, calling instructions to his neighbors. "Typhoon is coming," he announced. "Everyone knows their duties. Let us begin." The village transformed. Villagers who had been relaxing moments ago were now in motion. Young men ran to the harbor to secure the fishing boats. Women gathered children and moved them to the strongest buildings. Old people checked supplies and prepared the shelters. Geo Kang arrived in a vehicle. She was the emergency coordinator for this region, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a calm voice. She wore simple clothes and carried a communication device. "The typhoon will make landfall in approximately 2.5 hours, she announced. "Category 3, strong, but we have survived worse. All teams, begin standard preparations." Captain Van approached her. "You need to evacuate. This storm will kill you all." Geo looked at her with surprise. "Evacuate? To where?" "This is where we live. We will ride out the storm as we always do. But the wind speeds, the water, the electrical activity, yes, it will be dangerous. But we have prepared. We know what to do. We have survived many typhoons." Captain Ven did not understand. On any Veltari world, a storm like this would mean death. The entire population would flee to underground shelters and hope for the best. But these humans were not fleeing. They were preparing. "What can we do?" Yuna asked Geo. Geo handed her a list. "Help with the boats. Then reinforce the community shelter. Then check on the elderly who live alone." "Can you do that?" "Yes. Then go. We have work to do." The next 2 hours were a blur of activity. Yuna worked alongside humans whose names she did not know. They tied ropes and moved supplies and checked structures for weakness. The wind was already getting stronger. Rain was starting to fall. But no one stopped. Dr. Tallow watched from the shelter of the landing shuttle. His instruments told him everything that was happening. The storm was growing. The pressure was dropping. The conditions were becoming lethal. And yet the humans kept working. Jihyu's son Taiwu was among them. He was 17 years old, tall and strong, with energy that seemed endless. He carried heavy sandbags as if they weighed nothing. The rain was soaking his clothes, but he did not slow down. "This is nothing," he shouted to Yuna over the growing wind. "You should see monsoon season. Now that is really wet." Yuna laughed. She could not help it. Here was a young man facing a storm that would terrify any Veltari, and he was making jokes. When the typhoon finally hit, it hit hard. The wind screamed. The rain fell in sheets so thick that visibility dropped to nothing. Lightning split the sky again and again. The sound was like the end of the world. Captain Ven huddled in the landing shuttle with her crew. The ship's emergency systems were active, warning of structural stress and power fluctuations and 100 other dangers. Dr. Tallow was recording everything, certain that these would be the final records of their lives. "We are going to die," he said. "We are going to die on this death world." But they did not die. The community shelter held. The boats stayed secure. The buildings that the humans had reinforced for generations stood firm against the wind and the rain. Inside the shelter, the humans waited. Some slept. Some talked quietly. Children played games to pass the time. Grandmother Yunji made tea for everyone, including the terrified Veltari crew. "Drink this," she said to Dr. Tallow. "It will help you stay calm." "How can you be calm?" he asked. "There is a catastrophic atmospheric event happening outside. We could all die at any moment." Yunji patted his hand gently. It was an odd sensation through his environmental suit. "We could die at any moment," she agreed. That has always been true. It was true yesterday when the sun was shining. It will be true tomorrow when the storm has passed. We humans live with this knowledge every day. How do you bear it? Yoonji smiled. We bear it together. We help each other. We prepare. We endure. And then we rebuild. It is what we have always done. The storm raged for 8 hours. Then, slowly, it began to fade. The wind dropped. The rain eased. The darkness lifted. Dawn came. Dr. Tallow stepped outside. His instruments still showed dangerous conditions everywhere. Radiation from the returning sun. Bacteria in the wet air. Unstable ground from the absorbed water. 1,000 invisible threats, but he barely noticed. He was watching the humans. They were already at work. Clearing debris. Checking on neighbors. Assessing damage. Starting to repair what had been broken. Sujin ran past him, splashing through puddles, laughing with pure joy. The storm is over, she shouted. Now we can play outside again. Dr. Tallow stood very still. He thought about his calculations. He had predicted that nothing could survive until dawn. He had been absolutely certain. And yet here they were. All of them. Alive. Not just alive. Already moving forward. Already rebuilding. Already preparing for the next storm that would come. He looked down at his instruments. Then he looked at the humans around him. Then he looked at the rising sun. I need to revise my models, he said quietly. All of them. The survey was complete. 10 days on a world that should have killed them all. 10 days of impossible survival. 10 days of learning that everything the Valkyrie knew about life was wrong. On the final morning, Captain Ven met with Mayor Hyeri Shin in her office. The office was simple but clean. Through the window, Ven could see villagers repairing the last of the storm damage. Children were already playing in the streets again. Hyeri was a woman in her 50s, with gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. She had been mayor for 15 years. She had seen many storms, many challenges, many visitors from distant places. But the Valkyrie were the strangest visitors yet. Thank you for meeting with me, Captain Ven said. Of course. I hope your survey has been successful. Ven was quiet for a moment. She was trying to find the right words. Mayor Shin, my people have classified your world as Category Omega. This is the highest danger classification. It means a world where intelligent life cannot survive. And yet here you are, billions of you, living on a planet that should have killed you all. Hyeri listened without expression. I have come to offer you something, Ven continued. The Galactic Survey can arrange evacuation. We can transport your people to safer worlds. Worlds with stable gravity and clean atmospheres, and no predators and no storms. You do not have to live like this anymore. There was a long silence. Then Hyeri smiled. It was a gentle smile, but there was something strong underneath it. Captain Ven, I appreciate your concern, but I must ask you a question first. What do you think a home is? Ven was confused. A home is a place of safety. A place where you are protected from danger. A place where you can survive. I see. And by your definition, our world is not a home. It is a prison. A death trap. A place we endure but should escape. Yes, exactly. Hyeri stood and walked to the window. She looked out at her village. At her people. When I was a young girl, she said, my grandmother told me a story. She said that long ago, our ancestors lived in trees. They were small and weak. They could not run fast or fight hard or survive cold or heat. By every measure, they should have died. She turned back to Ven. But they did not die. They adapted. They learned to use tools. They learned to work together. They learned to face every challenge that the world threw at them. And not just survive, but thrive. Her eyes were shining now. There was pride there. And love. This world is not our prison, Captain. It is our teacher. The gravity makes our bodies strong. The storms teach us to prepare and to cooperate. The predators teach us to be smart. The danger teaches us to value each moment. Every challenge we face makes us better. She sat back down. You offer us safe worlds. Comfortable worlds. Worlds where nothing can hurt us. But what would we become on such worlds? What would our children learn if they never had to struggle? What would we value if everything was given to us? Captain Ven did not answer. She did not know how to answer. This is our home, HFY said. Not because it is safe, but because it is ours. Because we have earned every sunrise. Because we have survived every storm. Because we have faced every danger together, as a people, for thousands of generations. She reached across the desk and took Ven's hand. The Velthari flinched at the contact, but did not pull away. I know you see death when you look at our world, HFY said. But we see life. Difficult life. Dangerous life. But precious beyond measure. We would not trade it for anything. Captain Ven left the meeting changed. She did not fully understand. Perhaps she never would. But she understood enough to know that her report would need to say something new. The landing shuttle prepared to leave. The crew loaded their equipment and their samples and their endless recordings. Dr. Tallow carried data that would reshape xenobiology forever. But first, there were goodbyes to say. Sujin gave Yuna a shell she had found on the beach. It was small and spiral-shaped, worn smooth by years in the water. This is for you, Sujin said. So you remember us. Yuna held the shell carefully. It was just a small thing. A piece of calcium left behind by a creature that had lived and died in a deadly ocean on a deadly world. But it was beautiful. I will never forget you, Yuna said. Any of you. Grandmother Yunji pressed a jar into Yuna's hands. It was kimchi, the spicy fermented vegetable she had served at every meal. You are too thin, Yunji said again. Eat this. Stay healthy. Come back to visit when you can. Yuna hugged her. She could not help it. It was not professional behavior for a xenobiologist on a survey mission. But she did not care. Minho was last. He stood at the edge of the landing area, watching the shuttle prepare to leave. Will you come back? He asked. I will try, Yuna said. I cannot promise. Space is very large. I understand. He looked at the sky. But if you ever need a reminder of what home feels like, remember this place. Remember the ocean. Remember the storms. Remember us. Yuna nodded. There were tears in her eyes. She did not wipe them away. The shuttle lifted off. Through the window, Yuna watched the village grow smaller. The beach. The ocean. The people waving goodbye. Captain Ven sat beside her. Are you all right, Dr. Park? Yuna held the shell to her ear. She could hear the sound of waves. The sound of a world that tried to kill everything that lived on it, and failed, again and again, because the things that lived there refused to die. I forgot, Yuna whispered. I forgot what it felt like to belong somewhere. The eternal horizon rose through the atmosphere and back into the cold safety of space. In his quarters, Dr. Tallow wrote his report. It would be read by thousands of scientists across the galaxy. It would change how they understood life and survival and possibility. The final line read, humans do not survive despite their world. They thrive because of it. Category Omega reclassification is recommended. New category, human compatible. Definition, a world so hostile that only the strongest species can call it home. Below, on the surface of the planet called Earth. The sun was setting again. Do-hyun sat on his porch and watched the colors fill the sky. Sujin played in the yard with the dogs. Yunji prepared dinner in the kitchen. The ocean sang its endless song. Another day survived. Another night to come. Another tomorrow, full of danger and beauty and life. Another day on the world they called home.